but it's entirely true. I'll go first.
Okay, excuse how I look, but I'm gonna try to be super quick when I tell this story. So this happened to me about a month ago, and I'm laying in my bed. I had just had the strangest dream in the world. And I woke up from my dream because, it was scary, like something was chasing me or whatever. And I went in the bathroom, and then I just woke up out of fear. And I just sat there, and I was just looking at my bedroom wall. The way my bed is set up, so like if you walk in my room and you look to the right, my bed is on the far left wall. And when I was sleeping, my back was turned to the door, so I couldn't see, anything. So I'm just chilling, right? And I'm laying there. Mind you, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I hear the loudest footsteps running through our house. Like, our house, we have, real hardwood floors. So you can hear when somebody's, walking through the house. Like, you can hear that. But somebody was in there running, and they wasn't running fast, girl. They wasn't stopping. But they did end up stopping, and they stopped at my room door. And I'm just laying in my room, and I'm looking at my wall, like, what? It just ran through the house and stopped at my door for some reason. Like, what was that? And then I hear my bedroom door open. I know what my door sounds like. Like, if you have, a newer house, you know how, if you open and close your door, it makes, a clicking noise or whatever. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But I heard my door open, and I'm just laying there, in fear. I've never felt so scared before in my life. I'm so serious. And I'm just laying there, and I feel something behind me. Y'all, it was, the darkest presence I've ever felt. It felt not human, okay? Whatever was standing behind me was not a person. I thought it was, but it wasn't. The longer I sat there and realized that it was not a person. So I'm laying there, and I usually have the covers up to my neck, but this night I did not. I was slacking a little bit, and my neck was exposed. It was this side of my neck right here. It was exposed, and I felt something touch my neck. It was so sharp. It touched my neck. Y'all, I literally thought something think of the sharpest object you can, and imagine it poking you in your neck. Like boop, like that. Or it happened fast but slow at the same time. It was like that. So I jump out of my bed. Excuse me. I turn around. Nobody's there, of course. And my bedroom door is closed. It was never open. It never got opened. So I jump up, and I go to the door, and I open the door. Because at first I thought it was my brother, because I know he comes in there sometimes and, snooping around and stuff, trying to find my phone charger, just that and the third. I know he does that a lot. So I thought that was him. So I walk across the hall, because my bedroom and his bedroom are adjacent from each other. So I walk across the hall. This man's asleep. Sound asleep. Mind you, he has a bunk bed. So he got to climb up the ladder to get in the bunk bed. And he would have been up there by now. He would have still been climbing the ladder. By the time I made it to the door, open my door, he would have still been climbing the ladder. And I would have heard his bed, because his bed's kind of squeaky. So I'm like, what the heck just ran in here and touched me? What was that? So y'all, I went in my room, and I sat on my bed, and I cried, and I put on scriptures. I started looking up Google scriptures, reading the Bible, praying, everything, on my knees, listening to sermons, playing gospel music. Girl, I was not playing. I said, whatever you are not welcome. Please get away from me right now. I don't play those type of games. I don't. Also, I'm gonna mention, when this happened, I was on my I done fell off a little bit, not gonna lie. But I was on my, journey with having a relationship with Jesus Christ, and y'all, I think something was in there, and they were trying to get me. I don't play like that. And then I had called my boyfriend because I was scared, but yeah, y'all, and I didn't go to bed till an hour or two later, and I was still scared when I went to bed. So I had my little sermons playing, scriptures playing in the background on my TV. Everything was playing, girl. I don't play them games, but that's my little ghost story.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable, but is entirely...
I have one. When I was 16, 17 years old, my bedroom was the attic of my parents' house. One night, I proceed to have one of the most real-feeling dreams I've ever had. In the dream, I'm sleeping in my bed. I wake up in the dream to an older woman standing in the corner of my bedroom. I do not know this woman, never seen this woman. She actually looked quite ghost-like, a little translucent. You could see through her a bit. She she looked like a ghost. She proceeds to ask me, I have a son. He needs someone to play with. Would you mind playing with him? Not sure why I chose to say yes, but I did. And I was like, yeah, I'll totally play with your son. That seems totally normal. Like, we're in a dream, so, like, fine, I'll play with your son. As soon as I say, yeah, I'll play with your son, he appears, like, if I'm laying in my bed, like, she's on this side, he appears on this side of the room, like, right where the stairs are, the top of the steps. And he starts to walk over to my bed, comes to my bed, and he's like, let's play arm wrestling. So I'm like, yeah, no problem. Let's play arm wrestling. So I put my hand up like this. He puts his hand in my hand, and we are arm wrestling. At first, it's like a good give and go. We're like, oh, yeah. And then, like, he pins my hand completely down. I feel his hand, hold on. I feel his hand around my hand, ice cold. He pins my hand down and is staring at me. And I'm like, okay, like, let's play again. And he goes, I don't think you want to play this game with me. Just like that, like, dead stare. I don't think you want to play this game with me. So I'm like, what does that mean? Let's play, like, okay, let's play the game. So he goes, no problem. Digs his nails into my hand like that and starts pinning my hand to the bed, yelling, I win, 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 I win. I rip my hand away from his. I feel the scratch marks on my, like, right here. And then he takes a step back with this, like, grin on his face. And he becomes this, like, black cloud of smoke. And I know that sounds unreal, but just stay with me. So he's this big cloud of smoke. This is all still in the dream. I get up, I'm screaming, I jump out of my bed. Here's where it gets crazy. I jump out of my bed in the dream and I wake up in real life and I am fully standing on my feet. So as I'm standing on my feet, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I'm down the stairs, out the room, right? And so my mom and my sister are downstairs in the kitchen cooking breakfast. My mom is a very spiritual person, so I have no problem just being like, yo, this is what just happened. And it's like, disregard the dream if you want, but I was fully standing when I woke up. Insane. And so typically, not saying typically like this happens all the time to me, but like my mom we regularly would have priests come over, bless the house, things like that. So like that's not weird. So like my mom throwing holy water around the house is not like an odd thing in my household. So like I'm expecting her to be like, okay, let me go get the holy water. I'll spray your room down. Like, not a big deal. She goes, the holy water is right there. You're gonna go get it and go upstairs and throw it around your room with some salt. I'm like, why are you not doing it? She's like, I think you should do it. And I'm like, okay, this is insane. So I take the salt, I take the holy water, I go upstairs. My sister's like, I'll come with you, but I'm staying at the bottom of the stairs. Everybody's acting scared. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is something. So I have the holy water, I have the salt, I go upstairs. I have the holy water in like a little cup, and I have the salt. I go upstairs, and so I'm like throwing the holy water around, just a little flap around. And I have the salt, and I throw it onto my bed, and it sizzles. Bitch. I never ran down a flight of stairs faster in my life. I don't even think I touched one step. I jumped from the top 11 steps down, bow, hit it. I was downstairs the next flight, bow, hit it. I didn't stop for shit. I said, the only way I'm going back up there is if y'all bring a priest to hose this house down with a fire truck of holy water. I'm not playing at all with y'all. And so my mama got the priest to come, and he blessed the whole house, top to bottom. He didn't miss no floor, no nook, no cranny. And I never had an experience like that again. So I don't know where that little boy is at, but I hope his soul is at rest, because
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely.
If you scare easily, go ahead and exit right now. When my grandmother was in hospice, she hospiced under the care of my mom and my aunt. in this home. As it got closer to the end, my grandma would kind of swat and be like, do you see them? Do you see them? They're just flying all around me. They're flying all around me. She would also say that she sees a man in the corner. One day my mother was in the bathroom doing her hair and my aunt was going to the store. While my mom was in the bathroom doing her hair, she felt a huge gust of wind, as if like somebody was like walking by and walking through our hallway, and they're walking fast and like with a purpose, like startled my mom. Then she peeked outside the door and she's calling for my aunt. She's like, Pat, is that you? And it wasn't my aunt. And then it happened again and she sees somebody like walking by and my mom was like, what the heck is going on? My mom just gets this really weird feeling and she goes into my grandma's room and she's like, hey mom, are you okay? And my grandma was like, did you see him? And my mom was like, yeah mom, I saw him. He starts speaking to it, starts saying, hey, I think I know who you are. We're not ready for her to go. And my mom said that it was a cloaked figure, like a pale cloaked figure with like a button up shirt with a high collar, like ruffled high collar up to here, ruffles on the sleeves, and like a hat that Abraham Lincoln used to wear, like a top hat. Like a few days passed. My grandma is watching Judge Judy because that's what my grandma loved, Judge Judy. And my mom is in there and Judge Judy had just gone off and my mom goes in there and she's like, hey mommy, ask my grandma if she wants to watch the Today Show now because Gladys Knight and the Pips are going to be performing. And my mom has her back turned to my grandma and my grandma's back here laying down. And my mom says, she's like, hey mom, do you want to watch the Today Show? Gladys Knight and the Pips are on. And my grandma said, no, he's here. And my mom says, who's here, mom? And when my mom turned around, my grandma had passed. Like my grandma was dead. She was gone. She said, no, he's here. And she was gone. It was the angel of death. Angel of death came and took her soul. Yeah, he's here.
In the late fall of 1952, 20 school children, ranging from 8 to 13 years old, were on their way back from an evening field trip to the Smoot Theater, but their bus driver, Miss Bernadette Shaw, took a wrong turn on the way home. In her attempt to find a shortcut back to their school in Clarksburg, where dozens of parents were waiting for her to return, Miss Shaw ended up on the deserted back roads of West Virginia with a bus full of sleepy children. Using the moonlight to guide her, Miss Shaw turned onto a shabby road that barely saw any activity. The road twisted so tightly around hairpin curves that it was far too narrow for her to turn the bus around and head back to the main road. She had no choice but to keep going. She'd been driving aimlessly for hours and was so distracted trying to find a way back that she didn't realize the gas gauge was well below E. Almost immediately, the engine started to cough and sputter as it gasped for fuel. The bus came to a rolling stop on top of a set of abandoned railroad tracks. As she turned around to tell the children not to panic, they were already fast asleep, exhausted from the day's journey. It was well past their bedtimes, and the dark, deserted route offered little more than trees in the way of scenery. She had two choices. She could wake the children and have them walk with her to the nearest gas station, or she could leave them on the bus while she walked by herself. There would likely be an attendant at the gas station whom she hoped could give her a ride back to the bus. If so, she would only be gone for 30 minutes, an hour at the most, and she only had one flashlight, which wasn't nearly bright enough to lead 20 children on a winding, miles-long hike in the dark. So she decided that the children would be safer on the bus. There was no telling what type of debris could be lying on the road, and if a group of kids decided to wander off along the path, she wouldn't be able to see them sneak away. It was best if she just went by herself. Grabbing the metal flashlight from under the driver's seat, she stepped onto the weary, rotting tracks, locked the bus door behind her, and began to walk. She picked up her pace, almost to a jog, hoping that she could get back before any of the children woke up. 10 minutes went by, and she knew she had to be getting closer to town. The crisp night air was so silent that she could have heard a person coming from miles away. But it wasn't a person that startled her. Quickly, she looked behind her. The railroad crossing, where the bus sat lifelessly, was perched upon a plateau stretching as far as she could see. At first, the approaching light was just a speck on the horizon. But as it grew bigger, the persistent sounds of a chugging engine made her drop the flashlight and take off running back to the bus. Chug, 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 echoed through the still air. The closer the train got, the faster she ran. Her heart pounded as it jumped into her throat. She screamed for the train to stop, but her cries were overpowered by the haunting, hollow whistle of the locomotive. Her knees ached as her feet hit the ground harder with each step. She shouted, "Stop! Please stop!" Her arms flailed in the dark night, her eyes soiled with tears. "Stop!" she cried. "God, no! Please stop!" No longer lost in peaceful slumber, the children's tiny silhouettes could be seen banging on the windows of the bus, trying frantically to get out. The train's brakes tightened around its wheels, sparks dancing alongside them. The children continued to pound on the glass as they screamed for help. "Stop!" Miss Shaw cried again, but her tear-soaked plea was no match for the sickening sound of metal colliding with metal. The train crashed into the bus, splitting it in two like a pencil cracked in half. Shrapnel-like shards flew through the air, piercing the ground as they landed. The front half of the bus rolled onto its side, then onto its top, then on its other side. It swayed back and forth as the thud of metal hitting pavement echoed in the air all around. Miss Shaw fell to her knees when she saw the children's bodies hurled from the vehicle. The windows of the bus had shattered, and the children's limbs had been ripped off by the sheer force of the train's blow. Blood began to splatter onto the broken windows, as if someone had started a blender and forgot to put the lid on. As the train continued to blaze by, Miss Shaw could see the other half of the school bus between the gaps of each car as they passed. The back half of the bus was flat on its side, its steel walls frayed open like the mouth of a jagged abyss. The children's bodies were heaped into a tangled mess over the bus's green padded seats, which were now drenched in pools of blood. She let out a gut-wrenching scream and quickly got to her feet. She ran to the front of the bus and began picking up the miscellaneous limbs strewn about the tracks. Carrying a pair of mismatched arms, she approached the beat-up torso of a third-grade boy and placed one on top of him, not really knowing whether it was his. Miss Shaw, so engrossed in her task of trying to return the limbs to their rightful owners, didn't notice that the train had finally stopped. She shrieked when she saw the conductor walk up behind her. His body, white with shock, trembled as he surveyed the scene. I tried," he mumbled to Miss Shaw. "I tried to stop," he repeated as he cupped his hand over his mouth, trying to contain the bile brewing in the back of his throat. "Oh, God. Why?" He wept at the sight of the shredded children. "Why were you on the tracks?" Before Miss Shaw could respond, her grief-stricken eyes rolled back into her head, and her legs gave out. The conductor caught her as she fell against him, and he dragged her body to the nearby grass. When she finally came to, police had arrived on the scene. She slowly sat up and looked toward the bus, its two halves separated by 50 feet of blood-stained roadway. She was taken to a nearby hospital and, at the behest of the heartbroken parents, was arrested on the spot for involuntary manslaughter. Decades went by before anyone in town would drive up that road again. In the late fall of 1977, two lust-fueled teenagers in Harrisville, West Virginia, decided to find a secluded spot to spend the evening. It was close to midnight, and the young man parked his Thunderbird near the entrance of North Bend State Park, leaving the engine running as he and his date succumbed to their desires. Without warning, the car slowly started moving backwards, but the couple, so engrossed in their activities, didn't realize it right away. When they took a momentary recess, the young man glanced out the window and noticed that they were mysteriously stopped on top of a set of old railroad tracks. The young woman shrieked when she heard a whistle in the distance, but the boy couldn't get the car into gear. They desperately tried to open the doors, but the locks were stuck. They pounded against the windows as the rapidly approaching train blared its horn. The rumbling of the train on the tracks vibrated through the vehicle. The glass rumbled as the couple continued banging on the window. As they scrambled to find a way out, the couple felt the car inch forward. The young man looked around, but didn't see anything by the car except the oncoming train. The car crept another inch forward, and then another inch. It rolled forward until the train zoomed past the car, missing its back bumper by less than a foot. The force of the speeding train rocked the car back and forth. The car's axle creaked with each sway. When the train finally disappeared into the horizon, the young man, shocked and shaken, was able to get the car into gear and drove his date back to town. The next day, the boy took his car to a mechanic to check the transmission. The car was covered in dust from traveling down the deserted road the night before. The boy told the mechanic about the car inexplicably going into reverse, and the mechanic remarked that the same thing had happened to several Ford cars recently. The boy then confessed to the mechanic that he'd been stuck on the abandoned railroad tracks near North Bend State Park, and as the train was approaching, he had experienced an odd sensation that the car might have been pushed off the tracks from behind. As the boy continued to tell the story, the mechanic's eyes filled with tears. "My son died on those tracks 25 years ago," the mechanic said. "He was in a school bus that was left on the tracks by the driver." And as the mechanic walked to the back of the boy's car, both his feet and heart stopped when he saw dozens of child-sized handprints covering the edge of the car's trunk.
Story time. And yes, I'm driving because this mess just happened this morning, and I am still trying to process what the heck I just saw. My husband, he goes to work earlier than myself, and most of the time I work from home anyway, but I'm going to the office today. But my husband, he is normally out the house at 5:30, but this morning he forgot his wallet, so he returned at 6 o'clock, 6:15. And, I spoke to him. I went in the bathroom with him and talked to him because I was trying to figure out why he was there. He gave me his kiss and he left. I got back into bed because I still had an hour before I needed to be up. I get back into bed. Soon as I doze off, I feel a kiss on the forehead the exact same way that my husband gives me a kiss every single day before he goes to work. I wake up, it's my husband, and he's walking away going to the bathroom. And I'm like, "Hey, you're back again?" But he didn't answer me, and I'm like, I might as well get up anyway because I need to get dressed. But he doesn't respond to me, and he just keeps walking to the bathroom, and it's really, really odd for him to do something like that. So, of course, I get annoyed, and I follow him into the bathroom. But when I get into the bathroom, there is no husband there. And my mind is freaking blown. I just saw a doppelganger, or whatever the heck you want to call it. But that was definitely supposed to be my husband. It gave me a kiss. I felt it, and I saw the back of him. He wore the same uniform that my husband wears to work. And he walked into the bathroom. I followed, but when I got into the bathroom, there was no one there. It was strange because my closet light was on, and we're anal about not leaving lights on. The closet light was on. And I am wondering, because these past few nights, I saw just the face of whatever that thing was. It was just a face. I can't describe what the face looked like. It just was a floating face that I saw the other night. But over the past couple nights, I keep seeing this, I don't know if it's an orb, a blob, a puff of smoke. I don't know what it is, because it's something that in this world I really can't describe. And the closest thing I can describe it to is like a cloud of smoke moving, but it's more liquid like than a cloud. But it's like, I see it in the room, and it's really trying to form a shape. And I have seen it almost outside of the night that I seen the twerking person in the corner and the face. That was the only night I didn't see that thing trying to form. And I have seen that same thing over the years in different forms and different colors. But this one that I've seen lately has been like a grayish shape, but it stands out in the dark. It could be pitch black in a room in that shape or form. And it's enough that I'm asleep, and it gets so close to me that it's very startling. Like, I wake up and I scream, and my husband has to, he reminds me that he's in the room and everything's okay. And I'll go back to sleep. I'll throw the cover over my head like I'm a little kid, because I just want to